go. Train tight. We're go.
Gentlemen, this school is about combat. There are no points for second place.
This is the Never Down, Never Out podcast with your host, T.R. Matson.
Welcome back, T.R. Matson, Never Down, Never Out, episode 98. Sorry, you only got 2 more episodes in the double digits. Then we're going triple digits, baby, which is crazy. I'm excited about that. I don't know. Wonder if I should do something special. I need to think about if I do something special for episode 100. 100% off everything on the website. That'd probably get people going, right? Yeah. Except I'd go broke. But anyway, I appreciate everything. It won't be 100% sale in 2 days, I promise. But if you do want to support the show, you know, everything, you all know it. The likes, the comments, the hypes, that all helps, you know, and then also merchandise and all that. Got a couple things over there that I'm trying to mix it up. You know I put out hoodies and beanie hats in the summertime or spring, so that was kind of dumb, but if anybody wants one, they'll be there. So, they're my wife approved, by the way. So she got herself a beanie and a hoodie, and she likes both of them. So if that's anything, but let's talk about today, episode 98, how to handle disappointment. Man, we need to learn this early in life, right? But I'm going to tell you a story today that I don't really think I've told. And it's not about how to handle disappointment. It's about how I didn't handle it properly. And I think it's important because we can learn a lot about things and how to do things by our mistakes. And this was definitely something I did not handle properly. Now, I've talked about the training department at the airlines and you know, doing that job for 7 years and how much I like to teach and all that. But let's talk about how it started. So got on with the airlines at the end of 2014. It's now beginning of 2017. And, you know, it was a weird place for me because the switch from military to airlines is often a struggle for people. And I was no different. I didn't understand the job. I had done so much time in the Navy, and you know, it's different. You know, you're in a world in the military where, you know, you're salaried and you work as much as they need you to work, basically. And then you get to the airlines where you're hourly. It was the first time I was an hourly employee since I was a kid. And it was just different, you know, and nothing I went through was necessarily different than anybody else coming out of the military, but it was an adjustment. So I had, you know, initially I went through training and that was my mission and all that. But then shortly thereafter, mid 2015, it was a job, and I hadn't had just a job in a long time. So I really missed teaching. For those that don't know, my last job prior to getting out of active duty was the wing LSO in Meridian, Mississippi. And I was basically in charge of all of the students that went through Meridian, Navy and Marine Corps, to teach them how to land on aircraft carriers with a team of amazing LSOs. So every 6 weeks we were off to Jacksonville or San Diego or Key West to do these detachments. And I still to this day, you know, over 10 years later, run into people that were like, you were my LSO, you're my paddles, thanks. I still remember them. So it was a very rewarding mission in my career. And then I wasn't finding that the same way at the airlines. And it got brought to my attention, the instructor job. And I was like, man, you know, there's some perks there. The training center's close and I can drive to work and not be gone all the time. And I love to teach, so let me apply. And I applied, and you know, I put together a good resume, and in my mind, I had been on the aircraft a little over a year, you know, and in my mind, I was about as qualified as I was ever going to be an instructor at the airline. Because all I was going to get going forward was more flight hours on the airplane. And I built it up in my mind that I was going to get the job. I was going to get an interview. And I remember vividly, I was sitting, it was at our old place. We hadn't had kids yet. And I was sitting there and I get an email from the managing director of the fleet. And she said, hey, we've looked at your resume and your application and your military requirement, because at this time I was still in the reserves drilling down in Pensacola, Florida. And she said, you know, at this time it's just not a good fit. And I stopped reading and I got pissed. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm perfect for this job. I will be the best dang instructor you've ever hired. I'm not going to get any more qualified, right? I mean, it's not like in the military where you get qualifications in your aircraft other than moving to the left seat of captain, which is a big deal. And I'm not saying that's not, but that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. And the position that I was applying for was a first officer instructor. So, and I remember sitting at my computer just mad. Just mad. I read the first 3 lines of that email probably a dozen times. And then the door opened to the house and my wife came home from the gym and she goes, what's up? And I was like, I didn't get the job. They won't even interview me. I was like, this is some BS. Look at this. And she reads the email. Well, the line that I stopped reading on, the next sentence basically went to say how the fleet manager was concerned that if I had to go 1 week a month down to Pensacola to do my reserve job, plus work 17 simulators here, I wasn't really giving myself any time off. And she was very concerned about my quality of life and my family and all that. But I never read that, right? Because I let the disappointment of not getting the job cloud my vision as to the real reason behind it. Luckily, my amazingly awesome, beautiful wife that I don't deserve read the whole email and brought that to my attention, and it kind of snapped me out of my fog. Now, the other side of this story is I already had a plan that if I got the job, I was going to switch reserve units closer to home, stop flying, you know, have to drill 2 days a month instead of 7, stuff like that. But I never got to that plan in my head. And once I got the clarity from my wife and I calmed down a little bit, I emailed the managing director back and I said, do you have time for a phone call? And she called me immediately and I explained and she goes, oh, well, if you're willing to do that, yeah, we'd love to interview you. We'd love to have you. So the interesting thing that I learned from that is we're all going to have disappointment in our lives, big and small, right? I mean, I laugh at it. But it's all the same. It's all because we build it up in our minds to be a certain way, right? Let's say I get a good workout in the gym and put on a nice shirt. It's flattering. And I walk in, take a look at my wife, and I expect her just to have her mouth fall open and just, you know, stars in her eyes about how good I look. But she might have a rough day with the kids or didn't sleep a lot the night before, and it's just kind of like, hey, and then moves on with her day. We build up so much, we make disappointment so much worse because of the expectations we build up in our mind, right? So we need to be able to temper our expectations for things that we're going through. And if we can do that, I think we can handle the disappointment better. If we're more realistic in our expectations of things, then we have a better chance of handling it if there's disappointment and looking at it with clear eyes, like my wife did on that email. She wasn't happy that I didn't get the job initially, right? I mean, we were both looking forward to it. She was looking forward to a husband who was excited about work and excited about teaching again. And I was looking forward to it because it was it was my new mission. It was my new goal. So we were both disappointed, but it was interesting to see how we handled that disappointment differently. I was closed-minded and didn't see the big picture. And she really opened her eyes to everything and was the reason why ultimately I made the phone call and got the job and spent 7 years teaching for the airline, which was fantastic. And I loved it. So the point of all this is not to show you that I'm not the brightest and my wife is far the sharper one between the two of us, because I think logic dictates that everybody already knows that. The point of all this is, if you find yourself getting disappointed a lot and really just being down a lot about a lot of things, take a look at your expectations on things. Take a look at how you play things out in your mind before they ever happen. Because there's a good chance that if you build up massive expectations, they might not pan out to be exactly what you think. And that makes the disappointment all the worse. That's what I got for today, everyone. Thank you again for all the support. Thank you for all the comments and everything. Just thank you. It means the world to me. It really does. We'll talk tomorrow.
T.R. Matson is a 20-year Navy career combat veteran who flew the E-2C Hawkeye and F/A-18C Hornet. He's the author of Treason Flight and Vengeance Flight. You can reach him at T.R. Matson or trmatson.com. Thanks for listening to the Never Down, Never Out podcast.